in a village called Cottingley in West Yorkshire, two girls took pictures of fairies they discovered in their aunt's garden, generating a lot of interest, including the attention of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. In a letter written by the girls, it was admitted the fairies in the photos were fake, but they still claimed to have seen the fairies that day. However, a small fairy community has recently developed who still believe the magic is alive in Cottingley today.
I don't believe that the photographs were a hoax. I believe that the little girls did see the fairies in the woods, and they were just purely making a picture of what they actually saw. My definition of a fairy is nature spirits. It's not these fluffy sort of childlike fairies that we see in cartoons like Tinkerbell. No, I don't consider myself as a fairy. I do this as entertainment for children predominantly. I do appear in magazines for fairy fashion. I upcycle most of my costumes myself. I make it from different bits and pieces from charity shops and all that kind of thing. I have fairy qualities and fairy attributes, but I don't think I'm a fairy, no, not really. The recent subcultures are very similar to, if you were to call yourself a goth or a mosher or any sort of pigeonhole things, there are people within the fairy community, fairy spelled F-A-E-R-Y, fairy community, that do take this to extremes, that do think that they're actually part fairy. There's other people that just like to dress up and just have fun. It's all about inner child really more than anything. Some people think that I'm too old to be doing this. I have children of my own. Cottingley Fairy Market is held twice a year right here in Cottingley. And there's people travelling from all over the UK with their bespoke products, their handmade products, lots of artists, lots of unique sort of ideas and artwork.
My wife is self-employed and she makes all of the jewellery herself. Some of it's precious gemstones, some semi-precious, some natural.
I started off selling things like nursing necklaces, breastfeeding reminder bracelets for the breastfeeding mums out there. So things like these bits over here, and then I've moved on to making wire wrap jewellery, metal stamp jewellery, the crochet bits and pieces as well.
I do get awful comments. I've been called the Fat Fairy. I've been called Mavis from Will-o'-the-Wisp. I get people looking at me and saying, oh, look at the state of her. She's no spring chicken. She's too old for this. I get derogatory comments from all sorts of people, but I find the teenagers very encompass what I'm doing, and they often get invited to parties and things like that, and they say, well, only come if you're dressed as a fairy. So I get invited to house parties. I get more positive than negative.
I think it's very important that local folklore and local tradition are kept alive. We do live in a multicultural society, and if we let go of what makes us, then we're actually taking things away from future generations.
My views on equality and kind of diversity, really. I think everybody should be accepted, regardless of what they look like on the outside. And I know that's easy for me to say as I'm sat here dressed as a fairy, and I'm considered an alternative type of person anyway. I don't believe that clothes maketh the man. I believe that you can look like a tramp and still be a millionaire. I believe that everybody, regardless of skin colour or dress sense or whether the blue, white, purple hair or whatever, should be accepted into society. But that's in an ideal world. I think, to believe in fairies and fairy tale, it brings that magic of childhood, back, and the innocence that has been lost, because the innocence of children has been lost. And I think because I dress as a fairy, they can engage with me that little bit more. And, it's quite amazing that you know, I can be in costume and I can be walking around and the adults, they don't acknowledge that they see me. But children, they catch, you know, I catch their eye and they'll follow me and they'll you know, they can see the magic that's happening. And that's so important for today's society, it really is. Because we just need to keep hold of this innocence and just keep them as little and as innocent as possible for as long as possible, because they grow up far too fast. They really do. And it's such a shame because they need to maintain this wonderful, wonderful innocence and fairy tale and make-believe. They should be believing in fairies and Father Christmas, and they're just playing on their computers now and just listening to the news and all these awful things that are happening, and it's devastating. And I just want to bring the magic back to the children. I really do.